Colton, we created this show to create and meet alpha dads. We want to create more alpha dads, and today we have an incredibly funny, probably the king of funny alpha dad that's out there, and I'm ready to laugh. Are you ready to laugh?
I am super ready to laugh, man. I'm pumped. This is gonna be great.
Dude, this guy's a great guy. He keeps everybody laughing while also serving this great country, and is a father to multiple children. So we are so excited to have on the show 𝗙𝗓 Butterworth. Welcome on to the Alpha Dad Show.
Welcome, 𝗙𝗓. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
Dude, I'm so excited. I feel like I'm talking to a social media thing right now. Like I see you on social media all the time. But like it feels weird, almost like I should be talking to my Instagram or something. It's strange, but I love it.
Yeah, I'm real. I'm a real person.
You're a real deal person, yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you guys that don't know, 𝗙𝗓 runs the Instagram, the TikTok, the social media. You're kind of all over the place. Wherever you go to watch content, you can find him at YouTube, 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗔𝗍. 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗔𝗍. How did you come up with 𗦕𝗓𝗢𝗔𝗍? Obviously, last name is in there, but 𗦕𗓉𝗢𝗔𝗍.
So my last name is actually Butterworth, and a lot of people put an S in the middle of butter and worth. So it'll say Buttersworth, and that's not it. So I correct them as it's Butterworth, like the pancake syrup. 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗓.
Butterworth.
Very advanced trickery there, you know.
Well, I know we got all kinds of content we're going to hit today, but I think I got to start out with just a huge congratulations. I saw this a while back. I know as an influencer, I know one of the things is always coming up with brand deals and connections and some other, key things. But I found one that I was like, dude, this was huge. This was a big moment. I'm going to play it here for everybody so they can see it. But just huge congratulations just right out of the gate. This was huge.
Hey, you should make me an owner of your company.
Yeah, me too.
You know what? I agree.
Seriously?
𝗧𝗢𝗄𝗏, what's happening, man?
What's up, Chris?
What's up, Joe? How you doing?
Well, I know we've been talking for like maybe 6 months, and I just got done signing the paperwork that makes you one of the owners of 𝗕𝗢𝗄𝗏.
Thanks, dude.
Hey, let's Jocko go. Yeah, man, cheers.
Yeah,
I was thinking, you've been making people laugh, you've been making people cry, you've been making people cheer, and now you're going to help them get in shape, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yep.
love that.
Awesome.
That's great news. Your supplements I've been using for years. They're the cleanest. I trust them, and they work. And so grateful, man. Thankful to be part of this, dude.
Let's make it happen.
Sorry,
man.
guys, switch hands.
Handshake, awesome.
Let's go.
Let's go!
I love you guys.
We'll talk to you later, man.
All right, see you later.
Never believe what happened.
Well, man, let's go. Partnered up with 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗏.
Congratulations.
Yeah. A lot of editing in that one.
Oh my goodness. I do the editing for our podcast and for a couple different shows we run, but the amount of time that would have taken to put you in the green screen. My favorite shot on that is the helicopter where they're both taking off and you're like in the background peeking over. That was perfect.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. So my buddy actually helped me with that one. But our goal for that was I'm a huge Chris Pratt fan. Parks and Rec. That's where I first started really getting into it. But the goal of that video was to get Chris Pratt to follow me. So within, I don't know, 3 hours of posting that video, he followed me.
No way.
Nice.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. And so since then, he likes a lot of the videos I do. And that's like kind of my bucket list is to do a video with him. And I have a whole bunch of ideas, but it's just
Like actually with him,
Right.
not green screen.
Yeah. Not green screen, not the cardboard cutout. I have 2 life-size cardboard cutouts of him that I put in my videos.
I love it. You're kind of like calling him out. I love it. You ever see I think it was Jimmy Fallon back in the day that used to always call out Matt Damon at the end of his nightly show. He'd be like, "And sorry, Matt Damon, we had to bump you tonight. Ran out of time." He did that for like a year.
Genius.
And then eventually Matt Damon came on. He's like, "Sorry, Matt Damon, we had to bump you again." He's like, "Nah, F, can't believe that happened."
So good.
It's so good. I love that.
Love it. So you mentioned he was one of your comedy icons and everything. Who else do you kind of look up to? Or I like studying comedy. I like to comedians in cars getting coffee with Seinfeld. I love watching those and kind of studying the art of comedy. I think it's kind of an art, a science. You can study it, you can get better at it, kind of like anything out there. So who else do you look up to, or maybe want to meet one day, or have met and has made a big impact on your comedy?
I mean, My thing is like I never have really been big into like stand-up comedy or watching that kind of
Mm.
stuff. It's always been, if you're in the moment and you can be sarcastic or just funny and make people laugh, like that's what I'm after. So I think some of my favorite actors would be pretty much anyone in Parks and Rec, The Office. That kind of dry humor is what I like.
Yeah.
But then I also really like Will Ferrell. I've always liked Will Ferrell. Any movie that he's in, almost any movie. There are a couple that were terrible. No offense, Will, if you're going to watch this. But his stuff, like the way that if you've ever read a script in a movie or a TV show that Will Ferrell has done, like 90% of what he says is not in the script. He just
Right.
he comes up with it like in the moment, and it's hilarious. Like Step Brothers, that movie is like 90% improv, and it's amazing.
My sister
Have you ever
and I were
watched
just-
the bloopers, like the behind the scenes, like Will Ferrell just going, and he can't keep it, like no one on set can keep a straight face. It's hilarious.
No, but it like watching that, it's like, man, that looks like such a blast, like just a fun part, to be there for. I don't know.
He's a good example of somebody that's not scripted funny, but is genuinely funny, and that just comes through.
Exactly.
It just oozes out of him. He can't contain it.
Yep. Yeah, I love that.
There's a lot of Will Ferrell movies that my sister and I have not watched together. I would never advise watching them together. But she was quoting something today. She was like, something from '𝗙𝗦𝗢𝗓𝗦𝗧 where he was like breaking his arm. He's like, just say I like crepes, and I was like, man, I didn't even know you'd ever seen 𝗙𝗦𝗢𝗓𝗢𝗓, but I loved it. We could both appreciate some Will Ferrell. I loved it.
Family goals.
Yeah. Any movie of his, I love. But Step Brothers is like top tier.
It's top tier movie. Yeah, you got to make room for activities. I mean, there's some like notable quotables throughout that entire movie for sure.
Yeah, me and a Marine, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of my content back when I was a recruiter, a Marine that was my competitor in another area, I heard his like little sales pitch at a career fair, and it was like the most wild thing I've ever heard. But I realized in that moment that dude's pretty funny. So I was like, hey, man, you want to team up and we'll make some funny videos? And all we did is we literally shot the intro sequence of Step Brothers, where it's like the Marine Corps and Army recruiter like meeting each other.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
And that's when you guys realized you guys were best friends. Did we just become
Pretty
best
much.
friends?
Like, dudes come over to my house to have dinner with my family, with his family, and like.
Because before that, you were kind of serious on your social media, right? It was kind of like you were doing recruiting, but it was kind of more like it was less funny. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I think I can be funny on this.
I think there's probably like maybe 3 or 4 videos that are when I first started, where I would sit in front of the camera, I'd hold it up and be like, hey guys, it's Sergeant Butterworth. I'm here to tell you today about the education benefits of the Army National Guard. And it was like, just the worst.
Yeah.
So after doing that, I'm like, great. My mom liked it. My wife liked it. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be myself. And so I started just being myself and being funny and hanging out with the dudes and writing, quick little scripts. And those went viral very quickly.
And it really took off. I mean, you have millions of followers across your social media. And probably people that watch you, I mean, like you really were or are in the military. I mean, you really have served. And one of our mentors talks about always finding funny. It's important to find funny in every situation you're in. When I say mentor, Andrew's my mentor. His name's Clay Clark. He's a great business guy, but he always talks about finding the funny in any situation. Otherwise, things get too serious, get too bogged down. It's hard to keep moving forward. And I heard you share a story on a podcast one time about a guy named Sergeant Walker and how he made you get out of the Humvee and do some push-ups. Would you mind sharing that story and just talking about inside of that moment, finding the funny? I think it was a great moment, and I think it's a really good story if you're willing to share it on here.
Sergeant Walker, if you want a Sergeant Walker story, I'll give you one that you haven't heard.
Okay.
So Sergeant Walker was the most excellent team leader I've ever had in the Army. A team leader is normally in charge of a fire team. There's your rifleman, squad automatic weapon, grenadier, and it's usually those 4 people total. So he was an E5, a sergeant. This guy was from West Virginia, a coal miner through and through. He was smart. He was very smart when it came to infantry tactics and how to do that kind of stuff. But he wasn't the best at spelling. So what I decided as a young private, I was 18 on my first deployment to Iraq with him. We were in these little death traps called ASVs, or Armored Security Vehicles. I was a turret gunner, so I had to sit in this like center R2-D2 looking seat where you like close the door, and then you have your rifle bungee strapped over here and a little like crank to turn the turret, or a mechanical one, or like hydraulic or something, to where you click it like a little solenoid and it would move it like that. But I could see the driver and I could see Sergeant Walker, the vehicle commander, in the front right seat right there. But all I could see was this strap on the back of his body armor. So me being the genius that I was, I would take we'd be driving for 4 hours, 6 hours, couple days, whatever it was. I would take the bungee cord off of my rifle and hook it into my turret, and then hook the other end into his strap. So those seats are not comfortable at all to begin with. And now you're wearing all the body armor, all the equipment and everything, and just sitting in there with your helmet on.
Kind of a game of mental toughness.
Yeah, something like that. So what I would do is I would gradually move the turret over a long period of time. And so as I would move it, the bungee cord would get tighter, and I would see him kind of fidgeting around in his seat nonstop, until on one time I did a little too much, and it was like, what? Pow! It ripped the strap off of the back of his body armor and like came flying into the metal part of the turret and made a really loud noise. And so we, like, even I thought we were being shot at in that moment, like, because it was like, oh my God. He's like, what do you see, B-Dub? What do you see? And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Where are they?
But I never told him that, so hopefully he watches this and he can see it.
Are you still in contact with Sergeant Walker now that you're a sergeant yourself?
It's been a long time since I've talked to him. I'd say it's probably been over 8 years or so. I've talked to a lot of those guys. I actually just saw my lieutenant from that deployment down in Alabama when I was down there for Army work now. But the last time I saw him was 10 years ago. And so, but when we met up, we're back to joking around and everything like before. So it was cool.
I love it.
Love it. So you on a lot of your videos, you incorporate your kids, and I think kids are like one of the best audiences for humor, because I mean, you can do anything and they like start laughing. Like, there's so much fun to joke around with and just have fun with. And so, like, how did that kind of start, like incorporating your kids into the videos? And I mean, it looks like they're a big part of it now, and they have a ton of fun with it.
Yeah, they do. So in the beginning, I started this for like a recruiting function to make my job easier as a recruiter, and it worked. It was very successful with that. But then I'm like, you know what? I really enjoy doing this. I don't want to just do this for the military. I want to kind of diversify and do. I love to cook. I love to bake. I love to, be a good dad and be a good example for my kids. So they see all this stuff that I do. They know that I know how to use a camera and a gimbal and edit and do all this stuff that I'm really into, that I like to do. And so I started to notice that more and more, to the point where my son is building Legos that look like my, Sony cameras that I have in here.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, maybe I'm not embracing that enough, and maybe I can bring him into it and see if he's actually interested in it. And he is. I mean, he can work a camera just like I can now.
Wow.
How
old is he?
He'll literally, he's 6. He'll literally hold a camera. I'm like, Jack, make sure my face is framed right in the center for this one. And he's like, okay, Dad. And then he'll like, boop, hit the record button. And then he's like, cut? I'm like, yeah, bud. And he cuts it.
That's awesome, dude.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm not paying him or anything, so it's really beneficial.
Well, it's included. It's not extra.
Yeah.
It's just included in his
It's included
upbringing.
in rent. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. Free room.
That's right.
But no, so I saw their interest in it, and then they started asking me probably 2 months ago, like, Dad, can we be in a video? And I kind of, it's something I've thought about a lot. And
yeah. There's a lot of weirdos out there. As somebody that makes content, I mean, people like find your address and dox you and do all this like crazy weird stuff. So it's something to think about as a parent, for sure.
It is, and my wife and I talked about it. We're comfortable with it, and we're very careful about how we do it and what we do. So I decided I was going to bring him into it with one of these silly coffee videos that I do, and he had a blast. Like, while we're doing it, he's watched these videos, so I didn't have to tell him what to do or like coach him or anything like that. He just like did it. So
took to it like fish to water.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, Jack, you ready to do it? And he's like, yeah. And he just starts doing it. He, doing all the signals and the whispering and all this stuff. And I'm like, this kid's a natural. So we started doing those videos, and now they literally like love it. Every day, my daughter or my son is like, "Hey, Dad, can we do a video?" So it's kind of opened some new doors and some different ideas that I have about content for kids, because I get hundreds of messages from kids around the world and families that are recreating these things that we're doing, or asking us to make certain recipes or things like that. So it's really neat to see, and I'm glad that they can be a part of it.
Well, and speaking of around the world, I was just scrolling through your YouTube here. You got these videos here for the audience that hasn't seen your content, that doesn't know, what exactly is this Jean-Claude thing you guys got going on here from all these different countries? What is happening here? What is going on in your studio here?
Yeah, so where I'm sitting right now, this is where we film a lot of the YouTube videos. The younger guy that's in those videos that you see there, his name is 𝗧𝗢𝗓𝗓𝗢𝗧, and so he and I started making videos back when I was a recruiter. He was the one that was always in the videos with me.
Okay.
So I brought him back in for the YouTube stuff to do that with me, and so that I have somebody to talk to while I'm eating all this weird food from around the world. But
Makes it less weird.
Basically,
a little less weird.
Yeah. Basically, what we do is we find these MREs, or meals ready to eat, or military rations from different countries, and we basically just review them. But this isn't like, Gordon Ramsay or a super in-depth technical review. This is literally two regular dudes that have been in the military for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we try these random things. Like I have one back here that's squid in its own ink. Am I looking forward to eating that? Absolutely not. Am I going to
What
eat it?
country is that from?
That is from Spain.
Spain. Okay, that's
Because the kind of food and like that would be accessible to the masses in a military type situation is probably not going to be 5-star type meals to begin with. I mean, it's probably not even going to be like an In-N-Out or something. So you're not talking about the cream of the crop type food here to start with. And then you're going into all these.
Literally comes in a bag like this. This is a
Brown
US
bag.
one. Brown bag. It's designed to have a shelf life of like 5 years, but with proper storage, it can be extended. That's what the US says. So
I talked to a
I've
doctor a
eaten
while
some
back, and
that
she was
are-
saying, she's like, how good is a pharmaceuticals good for and stuff? She goes, well, the label will tell you one thing, but our military will definitely like about twice, sometimes
it's
even
fine.
3 times as long. They're like, yeah, it's good. It'll work.
Yeah.
It's mostly effective.
You'll be fine. You'll have an upset stomach for a couple days, maybe at worst. You'll be fine.
How do you get your hands on all these packages? Do people start sending them to you, or how'd you get them?
Yeah, so that's what's really interesting. I in the beginning, when I first started doing this and I started thinking about doing the different MREs from around the world, I put it on my Instagram, and I was like, hey, if you want to switch MREs, or if you want to send me an MRE for me to review on my channel, I would love to. And so people did. People started sending it to me, and I literally have probably 20 different countries worth of MREs back here that we're going to start in July. There'll be 2 new videos every week.
Oh my
love
goodness. Now, did you go to theater class, or were you in theater in high school or anything? Where'd you get all these acting skills? Because you're really funny. Like there's the comedy part. Like a lot of people think they're funny, but like you're really funny. And you have good technical skills with the camera, and you're good on camera. Like you're the expressions you make and the things you do, it really brings it alive.
Yeah, so no, to answer your question, I did not go to any kind of acting or theater school. I went to school because I was a cop. I got a degree in criminology, and I did that all virtually from my police car while I was working. So
Nice.
I attribute a lot of my acting ability to when I was a detective, because I had to kind of get information out of people in a creative way to, close investigations or solve murders or crimes or any of these kind of things. And so that ability to talk to people from any different background or anything like that, that I think that's what helped me. But other than that, I've been a goober my whole life. Like I don't think I can ever be like 100% serious.
Okay.
I think there are probably people out there that would argue that that's not true, that I've yelled at before, or, may do push-ups in the military or something. But I think that for me, it's easy to be over the top and theatrical, especially with my kids. I think that they see that and they expect it now. But when I see the reaction of other kids that don't get that from their dad, it's kind of like, I'm like, man, I'm going to keep doing this because it's affecting so many people, and I enjoy it. So
yeah. I think that's important. Like my kids, like I think my wife is super serious with them all day. She's an incredible mom. She's like the Patrick Mahomes of moms, from like just she's top tier. She's number one. She's so patient. Like we'll be telling stories and going back and forth, and my son will start telling a story, and I barely even notice it, and my wife will like stop and like, yes, what is your story, and like listen and ask questions, and I'm like, wow, that was impressive, because he was completely dismissed. But my kids, because they're not messed with all day, I come home, I'm like, I feel like it's almost my job to mess with them. And my daughter started recognizing this, and she just looks at me, and she's like, are you messing with me? She says, like, no, she says, like, even when I'm not, I'm like super serious. She's like, you messing with me? I'm like, no, I am serious right now. I like start cracking up a smile because I can't help it. She's so cute. But that's the tricky thing as a dad.
Oh, absolutely it is. My kids are the same way. They just, I think that they sometimes don't even understand when I'm being serious because they're so used to me being a, goofball the entire time.
Yeah. Which is good.
That's funny. Yeah. That's good. Now, a couple months ago, it looks like you guys went out on a camping trip. I saw on Instagram you guys went out camping and had some fun. It looks like, I think it was about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, around there, something like that. Or maybe it was old content that I was looking at a little further down. But I'd seen you guys had like gone out and done some activities, or it was camping or hiking or something like that. And, I think it's super important that you take time out and like are very intentional with your kids and go out with them, teach them things, go spend time with them. Like we were just talking about, it's easy to come home and just, turn off because you're like, all right, I'm clocked out, I'm done, I'm just going to stop. So how are you protecting that time? Are you scheduling it? Are you like, how do you prioritize like the kids, like time with the kids versus work and spouse and everything all together?
Content creation, influencer, all that.
Yeah. I mean, you're a content machine. You're cranking out content like crazy.
Yeah. So I think that the biggest lesson for me was because when I was a cop, I worked evenings. Or like overnight. So
it's tough.
Generally, I was gone from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. almost every day, except for when I was off. So that kind of schedule, like going from that to working a regular job now in the Army, like what my regular job is, where I'm home every day by 5. I think it makes me like really appreciate the time that I have. And so my rule is that the kids come first and my wife comes first over everything else. Like if that means I can't make a video or I can't, do this kind of stuff, then that's fine. Like there'll be another day to make a video. There'll be another day to do anything like this, but there might be an opportunity that I miss with the kids that I, could have done.
I love
but
that.
No, I don't schedule it. I try to think of things to do. My son and I, we try to go hiking once a week. My daughter and I, this is a whole new kids concept idea, is that she and I are going to start a cooking channel on YouTube for kids. So it'll teach kids how to cook with their parents, whether that's your mom or your dad or whoever. But simple recipes that kids should know how to make and will make them more confident in the kitchen and everything. So I think that doing these videos with my kids is cool, and it's like it's awesome that I get to do that, but it's the time that they get to spend with me. And it's the time, like you can see it in their face in the video, like that you can't make that up. Like you can't Photoshop that like feeling into the video. Like they truly want to be there and are happy to be in that moment with me, not because we're doing something silly. They just like spending the quality time with me. So if that's what I'm going to get out of these videos, I could care less about the views, the likes, the comments, any of that, because that is so much more worthwhile.
That's so good.
Good.
My dad, I have a really cool dad, and he's amazing. But he talked about a lot of times he said parenting is more about time than almost anything else. Like a lot of dads wait for the big ball game and they're like, hey, we're gonna save up and do this big thing, and they try to hit a home run in the ninth inning versus just always being there, being consistent, spending that time. My dad always tried to find either a hobby for him that he could include me in business trips that he was doing, or something that I was into, making sure it was important to him. So he didn't like video games growing up, but we always played Madden. Most of my childhood we played a lot of Madden. He didn't like video games, and he understood football better than I understood video games initially. Eventually I understood video games and football, so I beat him later on, but
yeah, but you still have the time with him, and that's what matters. So
super important. Now, one of the things I do whenever I find an influencer I like, which is you, I love your content, love what you're making. But one of the things I do is I always like to see like what's their most popular videos, and I go through and I'm like, I shift the filters. And your most popular stuff is actually from a while ago, and it's really good. It's these ASMR videos comparing like Rolls Royce to the Black Hawk, and this is so fun. If you haven't watched this, you got to go check it out. Again, 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗔𝗟, but they're really funny. And you go back and forth on these. Why do you think these did so well? I mean, I'm sure as a content creator, your brain kind of was like, why do people like this? You know, what was this thing? Why do you think this crushed so good?
They're so dumb when you think about it. But so the reason I started these videos, these ASMR like vehicle comparisons, is I was standing at a fair in Washington State for a recruiting event, helping Washington State out, and my wife sent me one of these videos, and she's like, "You should do this with a military vehicle." And being the good husband I am, I was like, "All right, I'll do it." So,
man, hats off to the wife. Your best videos came from her.
Right, exactly. Yeah. She reminds me all the time. So I handed my phone to some private that was standing there. Actually, PFC Bates was his name. And I'm like, "Hey, man, look, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to go shot for shot, copy what they're doing, but we're going to do it with a Humvee." And so we did it, and I posted it. I edited it right there at the fair and posted it. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is pretty funny. Like, oh, it's doing pretty good." And I think I went back to the hotel. I woke up the next morning, and I think at the time I had like 30,000 followers.
Okay.
Before these videos. So I get up the next morning, and it's at like, I don't even know, like 300,000. And I'm like, whoa, this is doing really well.
Wow.
But then as the day goes on, by the end of the day, it was at like 5 million, and I had already gained like something ridiculous, like 75,000 followers off of the first one of these videos.
Wow.
And so then I'm like, after I, saw that growth and saw that people really liked it and thought it was funny, and I think why it's funny to so many people is that it's the two extremes of the like vehicles, right?
Yep.
You have the super luxurious, like the model that's like, "Oh yeah, look at me, I'm so hot," or whatever. And then the vehicle that's extremely expensive, and then you have me, the military dude, with
probably in an even more expensive vehicle potentially. Probably.
Oh, absolutely. But like for that first one, I think it was a Bentley that she did, and then I did a Humvee, and like I don't know if you've ever ridden in a Humvee, but it's definitely not built for luxury. Like,
no.
Yeah, not the best. So I think because of that, like people saw it and they're like, "That's hilarious!" Like it's the utilitarian version of the luxury that she's doing. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna lean into this, and I literally would see a military vehicle and I'd be like, "Hey, cool if I make one of my videos." And I mean, this Black Hawk crew here flew me around Washington, D.C. to film some other content for their unit. And then when we landed, I was like, "Hey, is it cool if I did a video of your Black Hawk?" And they're like, "Are you going to do the one where you like flick it and just say Black Hawk?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." I think one of the pilots actually videoed that for me.
That's perfect.
That's funny. So before you like blew up and had all the followers and everything, how awkward is that conversation of like, "Let me show you what I want to do," and they're like, "You want to do that?" And you're like, "No, trust me." And then you do it, and then they see it, and then it all kind of comes together. Is that kind of an awkward conversation, or do they kind of get it now?
Like for the military?
Yeah, like if you go up to the pilot and you're like, "Hey, can I?" Like, let's say he didn't know, or maybe I don't know, before they kind of blew up.
It was never like, these were pilots where I live, so I knew some of them, and I had talked to them and talked to them online a little bit on Instagram. They would send me a message and, haha, this was funny or whatever. And a lot of times recruiters or other people will ask me like advice about military stuff or recruiting related things. And I literally try to answer every single DM I get. Like even now I do, I really do.
Yeah.
Unless it's just like this, ridiculous or inappropriate or something like that. Like I'm just not going to.
Or clearly a spam like, "Hey, this guy taught me marketing. Pay me 5,000 Bitcoin, and I'll give it." I talk to every single one of those because I take a screenshot of our conversation, and I'm actually going to make a video, like a compilation of all of these scammers. Good idea.
That I basically try to scam the scammer and sell whatever they're selling back to them.
I like it.
It's like a sport. I love doing it.
I love it.
But no, I never really had any awkward conversations with anybody in the military or even like about my content. I briefed this to the Secretary of the Army and the Sergeant Major of the Army and the General and all that. So it's if anything, they've been supportive of what I do and supportive that this is my personal stuff. You know, it's my choice to do this. I'm not being like told like get out there and make funny videos for the Army.
There's no bonuses attached to how many followers you get or something like that. It's all from your own heart, helping your job make it easier.
I'm still a sergeant first class. You know, there's no.
One of my side missions with having you on was to find out about these shoes. Where do you track down some camo Crocs like these camo Crocs?
I don't know. I'd have to ask my wife. I think those are the Real Tree or the 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗓𝗢𝗔 Crocs. I don't know. I wore out the last pair I had, and so I told my wife I'd like a new pair, and so she, Amazoned it to the house, and I got them.
I love it. I saw those early on. I was like, oh my gosh, those are awesome. And it's such a good juxtaposition with this guy who's got like, the tight leather and all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And what I love about these videos too is you're not like making fun of rich people. You're not making fun of like it's not. It feels like it's from a light heart or something like that. Like no, you don't have this bent up anger or aggression or it's just you found the funny in the dichotomy between the two, the paradox between the two.
And that's an important part. Is that a lot of people say like, oh, she's so stupid or he's so stupid or something like that, and I'm like, no, that's not how I feel. Like that's not my purpose of making these videos. It's literally my take of what they're doing from like my perspective. It's never like I'm copying them to be a jerk or to mock them or make fun of them. And I would say 9 times out of 10 I talk to the person that made the original video before I use it and before I post it on my page. And if you really pay attention, you'll see that I collaborate with them on those videos.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. That's
the coffee one. Yeah. I forget her name. I looked at her page as well, and I was scrolling through her page, kind of watching some because they're really weird. It's like let's put pepper, like coffee and a pepper. Like I'm trying to figure out is this like satire or is this like I can't if it's like real. But then I see you on there, and I was like, oh, that's great. She collabed with you. Like it's not like an awkward thing of like. I'm making these like videos making fun of somebody. They're like the other creators look like they enjoy it just as much.
Yeah, they do. Her name is 𝗕𝗓𝗗𝗓𝗢. She's been doing these videos for a long time. And so there are a lot of creators that do parodies of her stuff and kind of copy it and put their own take on it.
Yeah, I've seen this guy in Hawaii that does them with like coconut, and does all that.
Yeah, Johnny, I've talked to him as well. So like a lot of these bigger creators that, are doing the similar kind of thing. Like I've talked to a lot of them, and it's never about that. Like if somebody were to take one of my videos and make a parody or, that style of video for it, like I encourage it. Like these kids do it all the time for my stuff now, and I love seeing it. Like it's just cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Even the car ones, like that's a Russian car model that does that.
It was great asking you all these questions. Fun to learn about everything here, the content, kind of the background, the family, the wife. It sounds like you got a great supportive wife, a great team built up around you. Content comes from the family, it sounds like, kind of collaborate with them. So it was so fun being able to talk to you about some of this stuff. Everyone should go check out you on Instagram, Butterworth Syrup on Instagram. Go check out him on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all over the place. Some great content on YouTube. I think people skip out a lot of times, especially now on the long format content. There's a ton of great stuff up there on YouTube. So everyone go check that out, especially up on YouTube. He's got some great stuff up there. And Tyler, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you coming on, man.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free. Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm excited to bring you my 𝗕𝗓𝗓 bed sheets for the best offer ever. We're all experiencing unprecedented rising prices, but I was able to secure a limited amount of 𝗕𝗓𝗓 cotton for a great price, and I'm going to pass those savings directly on to you. Get my 𝗕𝗓𝗓 bed sheets for as low as $29.98 with your promo code. They're the most luxurious sheets ever, made with the world's finest cotton. Grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, where the weather conditions are perfect for growing cotton. My sheets are ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. I guarantee they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 50% on my 𝗕𝗓𝗓 bed sheets. That's as low as $29.98. Quantities are extremely limited at these amazing prices, so please order now.